I want everyone to take a brief moment and just breathe. UUCR is a congregation of excellent peoples with dynamic abilities. Occasionally, they are impressive too. Do not fall asleep at UUCR, because UUCR will find you. The music in the sanctuary will renege your attention from the singular problems compounded in your mind. The congregants are learned, studied, and curious. They may ask your name. They may celebrate your birthday. They will ask you to write your feelings. They may behave as if to say, "We want you here." What is action? Action is the fact or process of doing something, often in the aim of an outcome. There is a lot of action at UUCR. People share their love of living, their work and joy. The inspiration of a nation exists in this building. We are not all Montgomery County natives. The first and boldest action is choosing to exist in this congregation of butterflies. The second greatest action is allowing a new wave of introductions for the next guest and future member. Why is action important? Action is important because it is the catapult pinball into the next decade. It is important because inaction does not inspire bravery. Action is voltage for a truly live current. The energy we wield in our bodies exercises imagination fueled by our emotions. When any single one of us spends more time making live community, we are purposefully wielding our emotional cartridge to design better outcomes. Our young adults group knows it is outnumbered in this congregation. That's why we choose to charm you. We choose to remind you. We choose to love you. We choose to catapult your attention to our potential. The man who will be speaking after me is a doctoral. Among us are entertainment executives, laboratory scientists, dental professionals, and policy researchers. Some of us are even teachers. May I remind you, this is who we are. This is not a forecast. This is manifest. No promise needed. Not one of the young adults was born into the world without a sponsor. That sponsorship has presented onto us a universe with new stories. With new stories, new challenges, and new dreams. The same is said of every congregant. There are demonstrative actions in this congregation. The fact you all came to the service today suggests you have not given up on the world. The choir alone continues to grow. I heard an applause there. Let's do it. There is joy when you are heard, because you contribute to our knowledge of the world, and we respect you. Given the bravery that has been Unitarian Universalism, let's review some of the action that has been our religious blockbuster. I would like an appraise, a proud woo if you identify ecology, environmentalism, women's suffrage, universal civil rights. And yes, we are activating voters this election. We are activating voters because we want to be convinced the oncoming administration is demonstrative of the general population. Our list in the argument for plurality will recycle, rewind, overlap, and reconcile goodwill to harmony time after time. On this call to action, I encourage a most powerful action. I encourage an action that will surprise your most vitriol antagonist. I encourage an action that will develop your peace. I encourage an action that has helped culture survive into a new era. I encourage an action that manifests bridges to hope. I encourage each to exercise grace. May each forgive that which is no longer useful to them. Some notions of life are learned by first experience, and learning by experience is okay. Abandon the raft of hurt without gain, and find the fortitude to say, I am not helpless. I forgive the world and that I exist in it too. When I entered this world, I arrived as a guest, and when I leave, I may be so lucky as to leave forgotten. I say lucky because this world will carry on without me. Like an actor, I am playing a role for this season to support my theater troupe. The playhouse that is our religion is a purpose higher than my name. Whatever you are holding onto that emanates resentment is asking for your attention. Be wise to give attention to that which will help you and not that which will destroy you. Dive deeper into the water that is your existence until you can see the bioluminescence of the deep dive. Panic, loss of breath, and resistance will not enable you. Diving into action is how you will find answers for a meaning beneath the waves.
Good morning. My name is Nick Warren, and my pronouns are he, him. I'm thankful to the tech team being able to pivot to allow me to provide my remarks virtually today, and I'm sad I couldn't be there with you all as I'm recovering from COVID. I'm on the mend, but I thought it would be wise to not share my germs this morning. I think this is a good time to share a reminder that vaccine boosters are available for the current COVID and flu strains, and free COVID tests are available at covidtests.gov. This weekend is the UUA Climate Justice Revival. EU congregations all across the country are celebrating a new era of reinvigorated environmental justice work and strategizing for what the future might look like. The essential message from the Climate Justice Revival is that environmental action is social action. Oh, you want me to turn my volume off? Okay. Is this better? Somebody in the chat confirm, please. Yes, okay, great. Thank you so much. So environmental action is social action. This is because environmental crises disproportionately harm the most vulnerable members of our society and are almost always the result of an imbalance of representation in places of power. Imbalances of power and oppression are why oil pipelines and uranium mines tend to be located on tribal lands. A history of housing discrimination is the reason why African American communities are disproportionately located in flood-prone areas. Let us send our prayers and good energy to the families who are enduring the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Yes, the choices of billionaires and politicians that have caused the climate crisis are largely out of the control of the average person. But there are things we can indeed control that have real impact on our daily lives. The UUA Climate Justice Revival challenges us to use our democratic system to advocate for a better tomorrow. The revival also challenges us to reconsider our choices and how those choices may impact members in our community. A record-breaking heat wave may be a minor annoyance for many of us who have the privilege of air conditioning, but there are individuals in our community, in our neighborhoods, for whom those challenges are life-threatening. Environmental justice is social justice. On Earth Day this year, I shared with the congregation that scientific studies show positive messages about what people have to gain are far more powerful than fear-based messaging. Universalist theologians have also raised their consternation with fear-based messaging for quite some time, particularly when it comes to our relationship with the divine. In the book Justice on Earth, UU minister Reverend Dr. Adam Robersmith writes, in the early 1800s, much of Christian preaching and theology was focused on hell, the burning fires and eternal torment that we would all suffer if they did not fall in line with a particular set of moral ideals. Many communities of faith relied on fear to induce righteous behavior, but fear of hellfire and damnation was insufficient to eliminate undesirable behavior. If it was, sin and vice would vanish from the American experience. It did not, and it has not. Universalist theologians of the time, like Hosea Balu, pushed back against this idea and preached that people are better motivated by a faith that promotes the inherent value of being kind to one another and doing good things. This is directly relevant to how we as a society talk about and attempt to motivate people to address the climate crisis. As Robersmith argues, our climate discourse has failed because we as a people have not understood the real value of our environment. Our environment is not valuable because it has a financial equivalent. It is not valuable because scientists and some activists tell us that if we do not stop sinning against the earth, that we will create an apocalypse. The earth is valuable because it is good. It is a dynamic and living ecosystem. If people, creatures of this earth, have worth and dignity, we must recognize that the earth itself, the home and origin of these creatures, has worth and dignity as well. If we as a people or as a species love this planet, as our universalist ancestors understood loving God, we would have already made so many different choices about how we live on this earth and with each other. So how do we look inward so that we can make better choices? As you may know, I'm a scientist, so I have a great appreciation for using data to drive action. Things that can be measured can be changed. Things that can be measured once can be measured again in the future to see if our actions have had an impact. That's why I've been leading UUCR's Environmental Action Group on an environmental footprint analysis to measure UUCR's impact, with the goal of generating data that we can use to cost-effectively and time-effectively improve our impact. We're looking at energy use for the buildings, waste collection, the positive impacts of the 1.3 acres of forest that are just right outside the sanctuary. But we need you. Following the service today, EAG is launching a congregation-wide survey to help us measure two crucial missing pieces: transportation and food consumption. Following today's service, and every service in October, we will have a table in Fellowship Hall or next week at the Activities Fair with laptops where there will be QR codes so you can take the survey on your phone. EAG members will be at these tables to help you fill out the survey if you would like some assistance. Chloe will be disseminating the survey electronically in relevant UCR newsletters. And the more people who participate in the survey, the more accurate our results will be. We're hoping that every UCR member, visitor, staff member, anyone with a UCR connection that is of driving age, take this survey for themselves by the end of October. With your help, we hope to have actionable information to make meaningful progress on UCR's environmental impacts. Reducing personal environmental impacts remains important. However, a congregation of this size likely emits greenhouse gases in the ballpark of about 10 to 20 typical American households. So there is a great potential to make a large impact by working together as a congregation. Nearly every potential action EAG has begun considering in relation to this project would improve UUCR's long-term financial outlook, would improve the comfort of the buildings, the health of our members in our community, and build deeper personal connections. EAG is growing, and we could use more help with this work, particularly if we are to build external engagement on environmental justice. If this interests you, please come by our table or email environmentalactiongroup@uucr.org. Thank you for this opportunity to share my thoughts this morning. And viva la revival.